Right, tell you out there, champs, and oh my god, is this the best gaming monitor ever? I gotta tell you now, I'm playing this over the weekend, woof. If I was to tell you that this is gonna make you a better gamer, you'll say, get your hand off it. But yeah, it does. I'll explain why. And I gotta say one thing, only the LG C1s sort of could hold a candle to this. Maybe, you know, a Sony or one of the QD-OLED Sony, you know, TVs that come out this year, maybe one of those as well. But I've reviewed quite a few gaming monitors, and I do have an LG OLED monitor as well, or TV, should I say. And this is better because maybe it's just because I get closer and it just blows my eyeballs out. And that's not a good thing, I tell you, not always, but maybe it's because I'm closer. It does get brighter, I can tell you that much, and the color is just woof. So you want to be watching this video in HDR. If it hasn't processed already, you can watch it now and then watch it again later in HDR. You're not going to see what I see unless you watch it in HDR. So any modern smartphone, or if you have a HDR display. So I'm going to go through this as quick as I can because my last video took over a day for HDR to process. So the shorter the video, the better, right? And yes, I have been reading your comments, and leave more comments if you want to know anything about this. I have this connected to an RTX 3090 now and an AMD 6900 XT because I actually did get a question about FreeSync. Stay tuned for more videos on this. I'm going to hook it up to an Xbox Series X, PS5 and an M1 Ultra Max Studio. I hooked that up to this. So as quick as I can, just the best gaming experience. What I was talking about before, it's going to improve your gaming. I was thinking, what's better, 240 Hz, 1 millisecond, which is my previous 27-inch Alienware monitor, or the 175 Hz of this monitor and the super fast 0.1 response time? Their answer is, given that they're both still high refresh, that response time makes a difference. What I've noticed now is, you know, when someone goes across you in a first-person shooter, I would sort of aim just a bit in front of them or at the front edge of their body. I mean, I didn't even realize I was compensating like that, but with this one, you just aim on the body, it's going to hit every time. You don't have to, you know, go in front of it slightly or at the front part of the body, just aim for it, it's going to hit, because that response time, it must be what's making the difference there. Anyway, a lot of people want to know about the text. Now the text looks absolutely fine to me at the sort of 1.5, sort of 2 feet viewing distance. Now I have it in HDR 400 true black with HDR enabled in Windows most of the time. Now I will say the mouse cursor in Call of Duty for some reason has this sort of like red edge into it. That's the only game I could sort of see that. And yes, it is true, if you put your face up to it, you can see the quantum dots or the pixels. And if you get in real close, you can sort of see like maybe a red engine on the text or whatever. You can see that the text isn't like 100% smooth if you got your face right at it. But to me, it's perfectly fine, the text. It doesn't have that glow like the WOLED when you have white text and a black background, and it just looked nice and crisp to me, except when you put your face up to it. So yeah, that is what it is. Of course, I tested this in HD mode and SD mode. If you're playing a first-person shooter or something like that, HDR mode is going to blow out your retinas. Like, I cannot play in HDR mode, as amazing as it looks. I mean, look at this. Look how bright it is on the outside. Look at the shadows on the inside. Look when I throw a Molotov cocktail in a dark environment. It actually looks like it's sitting on top of the floor. There's no glowing around the flames. It just looks amazing HDR content. But you know, if you get a flashbang or something like that, you're just going to be blinded. Like, seriously, it is just too bright. So I like to game in SD mode. One thing I will say, it looks amazing in SD mode, but it does have more pop in HDR mode. And one thing, if you have HDR enabled in Windows and you turn off HDR in the game, it will still use Smart HDR. So you're going to have to turn off HDR in Windows to get the full sort of SD version of the game. Now, talking about pop, right? A lot of confusion over this display. Is it glossy? Is it matte? Well, it's neither. I would call it a satin finish, a semi-glossy finish. So I showed you before in my last video, which you should go and check out. You can see on the Alienware 27-inch, it's diffused, right? You cannot see the LED lights. With this one, you can see the LED lights, but there is some diffusion. It's not glass glossy like you get on a TV, but there is a gloss to that display. And it is definitely not diffused like the matte display on a 27-inch Alienware. So I sort of think it's the best of both worlds. You still get a bit of glossiness and a bit of punch with that sort of satin finish, but you don't get that ugly diffusion that you get on matte displays. Now I measured all the color gaming, etc. Nearly 260 nits brightness with the whites in the desktop, so a white page or whatever. That's pretty good. 1000 nit peak brightness, yep, no problems, reached that, no worries. Now when it comes to color accuracy of this thing, oh my god, so color accurate. In sRGB mode, Delta-E average was less than 1. That is just wow. And even in P3 mode, it was less than 2, the Delta-E average, but it would have been less than 1. There was just a couple of reds that were like 3 or 4 that, you know, just took the average over 1. So Color accuracy out of the box is just amazing. Every panel will be different, and maybe in P3 to get those reds in check, maybe I could calibrate this, but honestly it's still less than 2 delta E average, so I wouldn't even bother. And of course the beautiful inky contrast of OLED, you know what that is. Now I hooked it up to an AMD 6900 XT. Someone asked me about FreeSync. I turned on VRR and it said the FreeSync range was 1 Hertz to 175. So yeah, is that AMD FreeSync Premium? I don't know. It's not labeled that, but 1 Hertz to 175 Hertz range is pretty good. Now over HDMI, if you want 10-bit, you have to go to 60 Hertz. And if you want 10-bit over DisplayPort, you have to go to 144 Hertz. So this begs the question, if you're going at 175 Hertz, it's really 8-bit. Is that true HDR? Let me know in the comments. There is no USB-C, someone asked. The brightness slider is locked in HDR. You have access to it in SD modes. I think personally it is best left in HDR 400 mode because I don't like the way the desktop looks at, you know, the 1000 nit peak brightness mode. But you turn on HDR content in that mode and it's a whole different game, right? And actually you cannot watch proper HDR content. I looked at some of my HDR videos. If you look at it in HDR 400 mode, it looks blown out. So you have to have HDR 1000 on to watch proper HDR content and game proper HDR games. But for me, I leave it in HDR 400 unless I know I'm going to watch HDR content or play a HDR game. Now the curve, someone asked about the curve. It's not that bad. I don't really notice it. It's fine. No picture in picture. Burn-in, well, here's the thing, right? It has two different sort of pixel refresh modes. It can refresh the panel and refresh the pixels. When you turn it off, a pop-up will come up. This is gonna pixel refresh. Do you want to proceed? Yes, to click the joystick button underneath. You can turn that message off so it doesn't show it again. And what you'll see is the power button will start flashing because it's doing that pixel refresh. You can also do the panel refresh, which is more recommended over a long period of time, but only time will tell with burn-in, but it's got a lot of things in there that should stop burn-in. Now someone asked me, should I upgrade from the 38-inch Alienware monitor? Well, just imagine they release a 38-inch of this. I don't know. Is the size the most important thing to you? I can tell you now this is going to be a better display than that 38-inch. It's better than any other display I've used before. It's just wow. But if size is important to you, you know what I mean. For me, this is the perfect size, the distance I sit from my display. It's going to be different for everyone else, but yeah, I can't tell you that. A lot of people saying PS5 test. I will do that, of course, Xbox and PS5, but it's no good for PS5 really, or Xbox, because you've got to go HDMI, right? So yeah. Anyway, we'll do that in another video. Hope I sort of helped you out here. Let me know in the comments any questions you have. I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Tally ho.